Today we bake a blueberry lemon sourdough bread. Although this sounds like a sweet bread at first, it also fits hearty toppings. What a lovely day to bake. Moin, my name is Arne, German hobby baker who's living in Luxembourg. Summer has finally arrived in Luxembourg, so I thought I'd get me also the summer in the bread. I love blueberries and we have some in the garden, but for this recipe I took frozen because ours were not ripe yet. Together with lemon zest it makes a wonderful flavor in the bread. Working with fruits has its pitfalls, as you see in this video. Let's get started. This is from Luxembourg with Love.
So we start by adding our levain, which is 40 grams of wheat, 40 grams of water, 5 grams of sourdough, mixed and left overnight, to 400 grams of flour. And then I add 300 grams of water, or nearly everything of it. I leave a little bit for later. And then I take my hands and combine everything. So you really want to get the flour combined with all the water, so there should not be any leftover flour in your bowl. Once this has been done, cover it and leave it rest for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it's time to add the remaining bits of water, as well as 20 grams of sugar, 8 grams of salt, and 20 grams of butter. I want to have really an enriched dough. Mix everything together. And once this has been done, just cover it and let it rest for another 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, we wetten our hands and it's time for some stretch and folds. So take the dough from the one side and pull it all over to the other side of the bowl until you feel the strength of your dough. Cover it again for 30 minutes. Now it's time to add the fruits, and before we can do that we want to laminate the dough. So therefore we spray a little bit of water on our countertop and then take the dough out of the bowl. Then take your hands and stretch it from the middle to the sides. Once this has been done, you can sprinkle the frozen fruits. And to be honest, don't use frozen fruits. I did it and I regretted that in the next step, as you will see in a moment. So take either fresh fruits or unfreeze them and then get rid of the juice that gets extracted while unfreezing. And then I take a lemon and grape it so the zest goes in here as well. And then I take the dough and wrap it from the sides to the center in order to create a ball again. And then you can take your dough scraper and get some more tension. I place it now in a glass container, which I greased a bit with oil, and this will rest for 30 minutes. And here you see the disaster. The juice actually did not incorporate it with the dough. Actually, I was not prepared of that so many juice would come out of these frozen fruits. So I had some trouble now getting some structure back to the dough. Of course, I could have now used my hands to mix everything together, but then you would have had like a purple bread, and I wanted to have at least some marbling effect. So I kept doing these coil folds, and I think I did like 20 at the end. Then I covered everything again and let it rest for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it was time for another set of coil folds. So you take the dough from the middle and pull it over. and then you rotate and do exactly the same. Cover it again, this time for 2 to 4 hours.
While we wait for the fermentation to really get going, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to my channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any of my next videos. Thanks.
After 3 hours in my case, at about 27 degrees room temperature, because it was a really hot day, the fermentation was done. So I decided to do the next step on the cooktop because the color of the blueberries were a little bit aggressive to my white countertop. So I now pulled off the dough to a slightly covered surface, and then I take the dough scraper and actually I want to shape it to a ball. The goal is to get some tension into the dough again after it has relaxed for the last couple of hours. So then let it rest for about 20 minutes until you see it has relaxed a little bit again. Cover it slightly with flour and then flip it upside down. The dough is quite sticky, so I was using some extra flour to cover my hands in order to prevent myself from sticking. Then pull the dough from the bottom to the top, then the sides, and then you can do these stitching techniques. And the last step is roll the dough up. So you can use your dough scraper to give it a little bit more tension. So I wanted to have some oatmeal on the top of the bread, so I sprayed some water on the loaf and then flipped it upside down to the oatmeal. And actually in this step I lost a little bit the tension of the dough, also caused by the frozen fruits. Was a little bit challenging to get the loaf into my proofing basket. But I think I managed to do that. And then you proof it in a fridge for about 12 to 14 hours. You see the fermentation is quite good, I'm happy with that, so it's time to transfer the bread in the cast iron pan. I've already preheated my oven to 250 degrees Celsius, that's 480 degrees Fahrenheit. And now I score the bread with a razor blade and then add some ice cubes as well. This goes in the oven for 20 minutes with the cover of the cast iron pan on top. And afterwards, I will reduce the temperature for 220 degrees Celsius. That's 428 degrees Fahrenheit. And this now bakes for another 20 minutes. Usually I add 5 minutes more for the baking process at the end, where I open the door of my oven a little bit. That gives a little bit a better crust. And here's the result. It's a little bit flatter than I have expected, but as I said earlier, I struggled a little bit with the frozen fruits. Therefore, the result is quite nice. So let's have a look inside. Wow, the inside looks really, really cool. And it actually smells so nice, like summer, with the lemon and the blueberry. Quite a nice, intense flavor. So have fun when you do that at home.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure when rebaking the recipe, in any case, the fruit either to defrost or bake them with fresh fruits, if you have them. The bread tastes best when it's fresh, and trust me, it doesn't last very long anyway. So if you do rebake the bread, do tag me on Instagram. I would love to see your results. What are your favorite fruits in sourdough bread? Write me in the comments below the video. See you next time, adieu and goodbye.